Good day, everybody. This is E. Marcel Pertut, the Sports Inquirer, and thank you for joining us for another edition of the Technical State of Georgia Athletics, where we're going to recap Georgia Tech's win over Duke on the gridiron, as well as looking at the rest of the ACC slate this week. As always, to follow everything that we do, head to the mothership, thesportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. I know this is a football-based edition of the show, but I highly recommend that you go to our site and look up Georgia Tech athletics, and you will see interviews with various entities. We spoke yesterday with Courtney Hart, the head coach of the swimming and diving team. That was a very good interview and broke down things going on with that squad. We have our weekly chat with head coach Michelle Collier from the volleyball team, as well as speaking with various players. We spoke with Julia Bergman this past week ahead of their victory over Clemson last night. And by the way, we're recording this on October 14th. So that's the time that we are broadcasting this episode. So we spoke with several Georgia Tech entities earlier this week about their successes in the pool as well as on the volleyball court. So make sure you check that out on the sportsinquirer.net. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. And then finally, subscribe to our audio and video hosts, such as YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. Do a search on there for the Sports Inquirer. You'll be able to find us and follow us. And that'd be a great way to keep track of all that is going on. Before we get to the ACC slate this week on the gridiron, let's look at Georgia Tech's victory over Duke last week on October 9th. It took a late touchdown pass from Jeff Sims with 51 seconds left in the contest to secure the victory for Georgia Tech in a 31-27 triumph. Trailing 27-24 with no timeouts remaining, Georgia Tech was able to drive down the field on 6 plays in just 51 seconds for the winning touchdown. Sims was able to throw a touchdown pass to Donegas Sanders from a 3rd and 6 from the Duke 36-yard line, and it was a very nice catch, an over-the-shoulder catch by Sanders to secure the victory. And that was the go-ahead score for the Yellow Jackets. They were able to hold on for the victory. It marked the first time since 2016 in the team's season opening win over Duke in Dublin, Ireland, or everyone's over Boston College, excuse me, in Dublin, Ireland, a 17-14 victory, that Georgia Tech was able to score a go-ahead game-winning touchdown with less than a minute to go in regulation. So that was a very big win for Georgia Tech to keep its chances of representing the Coastal Conference in the ACC championship game, which is not inconceivable. They lost to Pitt and to Clemson already this season, but if they had any shot of being at least having a winning record in conference play, and for that outside chance to be that representative in the ACC championship game, had to get that victory over Duke. But it was a really big day for Jeff Sims, a man that has been started off the season at starting quarterback, but remember he injured his shoulder in that Northern Illinois loss in the season opener for Georgia Tech. Did not see the field against Kennesaw State in their second game and worked his way back into the lineup and was actually a substitute in Georgia Tech's victory against North Carolina at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium here in Atlanta. But he started the contest and had his best game of the season, maybe statistically of his career, in that victory over Duke. He had 352 total yards of offense. He accounted for 4 touchdowns, 3 passing, and 1 rushing, and led Georgia Tech to a team total of 440 yards of total offense, which is the most they've had this season. He had team high in passing, 297 yards throwing, and a team high 55 rushing yards in that contest. So that was a big breakout performance for Sims, who really needed that for the team's offense to get going. So Georgia Tech has his lone off week of the season this weekend, but they do return to action in ACC play on October 23rd at Virginia. Well, let's look at the rest of the ACC slate on the gridiron this upcoming week. Clemson visits Syracuse. Clemson 3-2 on the season, 2-1 overall, 3-2 overall in the season, 2-1 in the ACC. Syracuse 3-3 overall, 0-2 in the conference. Clemson leads the series 7-2 lifetime. Won last year's contest 47 to 41. And they've won 7 of the last ACC meetings between the two schools. So there's a contest for Clemson to continue to find its way back into form. And as you look at the standings, they mathematically still can compete for the ACC Coastal Division title. They haven't played. Pitt's undefeated in the Coastal, so is Virginia Tech for that matter. But they have not played either of those teams yet. So if they want to continue their march to another ACC championship, a victory over Syracuse would be a big march towards that. For Syracuse, looking to get a ACC win, first one of the season, but we'll see what happens there in that contest. Duke visits Virginia. Duke is 3-3 overall on the season, 0-2 in the ACC. Virginia is 4-2 overall on the season and 2-2 in ACC play. As you mentioned, Duke lost that close contest to Georgia Tech last week and are now back on the road in Charlottesville. The Cavaliers scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter last week to win against Louisville and enters the game with one of the top offenses not only in the conference but in the country. Uh, Virginia quarterback Brandon Armstrong leads the nation in passing and is on pace to set the mark for passing yards per game, which was that's at the record in the ACC. So there's a very crucial contest for both teams for Duke to get a ACC win, and then for Virginia to find itself in the division battle. That'll be a very important contest for them. All right, let's move on to Miami, making a trip north to Chapel Hill to face North Carolina. North Carolina actually leads this series 13-11, and last year was a dominant victory by North Carolina. Had been close to 400 yards rushing last season in that victory, and they defeated Miami in Miami 62-26. So UNC is seeking to defeat Miami for the third consecutive year. They have not done that since 2009. So that's going to be an interesting note about this series. The teams met 7 times in non-conference play between 1946 and 1963, but then went on a 41-year hiatus before Miami joined the ACC. This was a contest that was looked at probably preseason as the battle for the Coastal Division. Both teams have stumbled in major ways. Miami's had some bad losses this season, 2-3 overall, 0-1 in conference play. North Carolina, we've already seen them lose to Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech in ACC play this year. Just not a very good start for North Carolina. And then Miami, the standards are high at Miami, and 2-3, losing 3 games in the season is unacceptable by their standards, and they're not even, well, I guess they're at the halfway point of the season, but just not a good situation there for the Hurricanes. Pittsburgh makes the trip to Blacksburg to face Virginia Tech. Both teams undefeated in conference play. We'll start with Pitt. 4-1 overall, 1-0 in conference play. Remember, they have that victory at Georgia Tech earlier this season. Virginia Tech, 3-2 in conference, or 3-2 overall, and 1-0 in conference. Remember, they beat North Carolina in Blacksburg in the season opener. For Pitt, it's been all about the defense, or about the offense. Lead the nation in scoring, averaging more than 52 points per contest. They're third in total offense and fourth in passing offense. So they are top 5 ranked nationally in scoring, total offense, and passing offense. And Kenny Pickett, the Pitt quarterback, 19 touchdown passes this season, just 1 interception. He's probably been the best quarterback in the nation statistically when you look at the numbers. Virginia Tech did defeat Pitt 28-0 in their last contest back in 2019, and that was at Lane Stadium as well in Blacksburg. In fact, Virginia Tech has won 7 of the previous 9 contests at Lane Stadium. This is another contest that they faced each other in the past and has some unique setups. They first met in 1993 as members of the Big East Conference, and they played 11 consecutive seasons through 2003. So this is a very interesting contest. Both former Big East foes, and this team, whoever wins this one, will have take a nice grip or control of their respective divisions. Another contest that'll determine at least the Atlantic portion of the ACC will be nationally ranked North Carolina State making the trip up to Boston College. NC State is 4-1 overall on the season, 1-0 in conference play. Boston College is also 4-1 in the season, but they're 0-1 in ACC play. Boston College leads the series 10-7 overall in history of their matchups, and Boston College won the last contest between the two teams 45-24 back in 2019. So Boston College does hold a 9-6 edge over NC State since NC State joined the ACC. And Boston College as well. So an interesting note about this series: their first contest came in 1936 in Boston College, winning the home contest 7-3 at Fenway Park. North Carolina State returned the next season and won 12-7 in Chestnut Hill on the campus of Boston College. Then they didn't meet again until 2005. So that's a very unique situation there with those two teams. So active week in ACC play this upcoming week. We'll be keeping track of all of it's going on. Make sure you go to thesportsinquirer.net for all the news and notes in the world of sports. Also go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then finally, go to our audio and video hosts such as YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. Until next time, good fight, good night, and be safe.